Wondering if you should break your set bonus, how much haste to stack, or whether a glyph boosts your DPS? Today I'll help you answer all of those questions and more. Hey guys, it's the Great Me and welcome to my step-by-step guide on how to sim properly so you can find the most optimal way to play your character. To sim simply means to run a simulation program that calculates your potential damage output. Players use sims to maximize their damage and to compare different talents, stats, gear choices and playstyles to see what performs the best. For simming, we'll be using WoWSims. You can use it directly through their website at wowsims.github.io. However, I recommend downloading the application and running it locally, especially if you have a powerful computer, since local sims run significantly faster. We'll also be using the WoWSims add-on, which you can download from CurseForge. This add-on allows you to export your character's gear and talents directly into WoWSims. To do this, open your character panel in WoW, click on WoWSims, then select Export Data and copy the generated text. Go to WoWSims, select your class and specialization, choose Import Add-on and paste the copied data. One of the first things WoWSims can do is suggest reforges for your gear. By clicking the Suggest Reforges button, the program generates a list of recommended reforges decided by WoWSims' internal algorithm, what I like to call Black Magic. If you want to use your own stat priorities, select Use Custom EP Weights in the Reforge settings. In this menu, you can also tell the Reforger to aim for a specific haste breakpoint. Additionally, there's an Include Gem option which lets the sim calculate the optimal combination of reforges and gems for your character. Once the sim has suggested your reforges, the result can be copied and then imported into the Reforge Lite add-on in World of Warcraft. When simming, I like to use a fixed RNG seed. This ensures that procs and effects occur the same way each time, so running the same simulation multiple times will yield the same result. This is especially useful when comparing gear, stats or talents because you want a fair apples-to-apples comparison. To compare stats, I like to adjust the values I want to test by directly adding or subtracting them. For example, if I want to see whether 2000 more haste over mastery improves my DPS, I would run a reference simulation with my current setup, add 2000 haste and subtract 2000 mastery, and run the simulation again and compare the results to the reference. The same approach works for checking whether breaking a 4-piece set bonus is worth it. Run a simulation with the current set bonus, swap in the new item, making sure it's gemmed and enchanted, and run Suggest Reforges again. Run the simulation and compare the results to the reference. You can also use batch simming to evaluate multiple items at once and identify the best gear combinations. Items can be added manually, or you can use the WoWSims add-on to export items directly from your bags and import them into WoWSims. Keep in mind that batch simming can take a significant amount of time depending on the number of items and possible combinations. Sims can also be used to compare talents, glyphs and even rotations, though rotation changes are more advanced and require deeper knowledge. Now let's talk about simming settings. The most important setting to adjust is the encounter duration. As you and your raid acquire better gear, fights tend to become shorter and your DPS can vary significantly depending on the length of the encounter. For example, since my kill timers are usually around 3 to 4 minutes, I adjust the default 300 seconds to roughly 200 plus minus 30 seconds. Other settings you might consider include input delay, distance from the target, and your class-specific options. For example, Affliction Warlocks have a Soul Soap Exhale window, Warriors have Stance Snapshot, and Hunters have Glaive Toss Success percentage. In the advanced settings, you can fine-tune even more parameters, such as execute duration, boss health and armor, or NPC type, though I typically stick with the default settings. Some classes also have different preset configurations. For example, Affliction Warlocks have separate presets for single target and multi-target situations. Another powerful feature of WoWSims is analyzing your class rotation. To do this, go to the Results tab and select Sim 1 iteration and then open the timeline view. Here you can see exactly when each ability was used, when trinkets procced, and when bloodlust or other buffs were applied. You can even hide abilities or buffs you're not interested in to make the timeline easier to read. Other tabs provide additional insights: how many times each spell was cast, how much damage each ability did, and how often major cooldowns were activated. Together, these views give you a detailed picture of how the sim optimizes your rotation and how abilities interact over the course of a fight. I also like to use WoWSims for best in slot lists, which are maintained by knowledgeable players from WoW class discords. Some classes even have gear presets tailored for progression or farming, or for a balanced versus offensive setup, making it easy to see which items are optimal for your playstyle. In addition, WoWSims lets you save your gear, encounters, settings, talents and rotations. This means that the next time you sim, you can pick up right where you left off without starting from scratch. First, I'll import my warlock into WoWSims using the WoWSims add-on. We'll use the multi-target preset since most fights in Throne of Thunder and Siege of Orgrimmar involve adds. I'll also adjust the encounter duration from the default 300 seconds to 200 plus minus 30 seconds, which better matches my kill times. Next, we'll set a fixed RNG seed of 1 to ensure consistent comparisons. Moving to Reforge settings, I'll select a soft haste cap of 27.75% and make sure to include gems. This value was recommended by experienced warlocks on the Classic Discord. Then we run suggest reforges, run the simulation and save it as our reference. Now let's test a change. I'll add the glyph of Eternal Resolve and run the simulation again. This results in a DPS increase, so we'll save it as a new reference point. Next, we'll explore the haste versus mastery distribution. I'll start by adding 500 haste and subtracting 500 mastery and then run the sim. We repeat the process for 1000, 1500 and 2000, checking for improvements. In this case, there's no better balance than our reference setup. Finally, let's test if the tier 14 4-piece set bonus is an upgrade over my current setup. First, make sure that the items are upgraded, gemmed and enchanted, and then run the simulation. In my case, this results in a 4% DPS increase, giving us a clear indication that the 4-piece set bonus is worth using. And that's a wrap up on my simming guide. I want to end by saying that simulations aren't always perfectly accurate, but they provide a valuable reference point. With so many items and item variants, celestial, normal and heroic, along with talents and stats, it can be nearly impossible to determine the best setup without running a sim. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more Mists of Pandaria classic content. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can join and become a member. Thanks for watching.